Scream 6, a divisive entry in the franchise, has no deleted scenes included on the physical media releases. I find this to be very annoying personally. You see, in the commentary track for Scream 6, during the subway attack with Mindy, the filmmakers say that they didn't want to include deleted scenes or alternate takes because they consider this to be the director's cut. Excuse me? A baking powder? Let's get into this thing. So despite the filmmakers claiming there are no deleted scenes, there is plenty of evidence to the contrary, and most of it comes right from their mouths. Just to be clear, I would like to see these deleted scenes, but it's not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be. I'm not actually mad at the filmmakers, I'm just poking a bit of fun here. But a lot of this info was compiled in a Reddit post 3 years ago, sourced from various interviews and articles with the filmmakers. So let's just start digging through this stuff. This first one I couldn't find any real source for, but I found it interesting, so we're going to talk about it briefly. The opening scene originally had Jason using the Ghostface voice for the entire conversation with Samara Weaving's character. The picture that supposedly would show up with the name Reggie, which was actually Jason, was going to be a photo of Richie instead. Personally, I like the change up with Jason using his real voice at first on the phone. Not only because I appreciate that Scream 6 was doing something different here. You know, they revealed a Ghostface early on, one that some fans might argue isn't a real Ghostface. But this also harkens back to the original idea for Scream 5, which was that in Scream 4, Jill gets away with it, and in the next movie, she herself is pursued and blackmailed by a new Ghostface who would know her secret. I also appreciate this because it does separate Jason from the real Ghostfaces. In quotes. By him using his real voice, it just shows that he's an amateur. Or like I said, it just sets him apart a little bit. Liana Liberato, who portrayed Quinn Bailey in Scream 6, revealed that an early version of the script included a scene where her family's backstory was explained and it was even darker. The scene would have had Ethan Landry, her brother's character and one of 3 Ghostfaces, help his father Wayne Bailey kill their mother. The motive would have been basically that their mother disagreed with their motive to go and kill Tara and Sam. Do I think this was necessary? No, and I ultimately think that's why it wasn't included. It is an interesting idea though. Another scene would have extended Gale's phone call and chase with Ghostface. This is one of the more talked about deleted scenes from this movie. Apparently, Ghostface and Gale were going to face off before the chase, having a confrontational conversation before all the stabbing goes down. Ultimately, I think they did a good enough job with the Gale scene. I mean, it's not my favorite, Ghostface call in the franchise, but it works. In a Variety article, Radio Silence mentioned that Kirby at one point mentioned she was once married during a scene with Detective Bailey at the police station. And I think ultimately that this scene got cut because it made Bailey too suspicious, not because of anything involving Kirby herself. And it's a tiny detail. I think the line "one and done" was spoken by her. On the commentary track, they do mention that they cut a scene with Bailey, essentially saying that no one needed to see Quinn's body but him, which just made it way too obvious that he was the killer, yet again. It's one of those things that when you're watching the movie, you're just like, what? That was one thing that threw me off for sure. Another scene mentioned on the commentary that we know wasn't shot, but was planned, was going to further call back to Scream 2 when the gang is parked and gets a call from Ghostface. Chad and Mindy were going to run around Central Park, kind of like how Dewey and Gale did in Scream 2. I don't think it was needed unless you played on it and elevated a little bit, and they may have planned that, I just don't know how. The next one was mentioned in a Cinema Blend interview. Gale was also originally planned to have a monologue from her hospital bed in the third act, but ultimately this wasn't even filmed, it sounds like, to keep the focus on the Carpenter sisters. All I'm picturing is the trailer for Dark Knight Rises, with Gary Oldman laying in bed giving Batman a depressing pep talk. I will admit, I am curious to see what that monologue would have been like, but I understand the choice. In an interview with Insider, they revealed Chad was stabbed even more times. What the fuck? Who's this guy? Julius Caesar? It's already kind of unbelievable that Chad survived this movie, but if there were even more stabs, it would just end up feeling goofy that he lived. So it makes sense they took some of that out in the ending. The man was turned into a pincushion, he should have bled out within 5 minutes. We also know that early drafts of the script had Sidney involved, but things fell apart early enough that didn't have lasting effects throughout production or anything like that. Early versions of the script didn't really connect the new Ghostface family to Richie either. Instead, I would imagine this is the version that involves Sidney, that it would have probably connected back to her character instead, as opposed to the Carpenter sisters. There was a scene where Mindy observes Ethan receiving a text from Bailey while they are at the hospital, and this makes her question him, obviously. I think we get enough of her being really suspect of his character, though, throughout the film, so it's okay, we don't need that. There are also apparently shots of a Ghostface doll in Dr. Stone's office that Sam notices. I don't know what that's all about. Less of a deleted scene, but there's a shot of Quinn hearing her hookup murdered that is in the trailer. Probably just additional footage that didn't make it into the final scene. But really, that's everything I could find about deleted scenes from Scream 6. There's some fun and interesting stuff in there that I wish we got to see that we know was filmed. We have to accept that it's the filmmaker's choice to not show us those deleted scenes. They didn't want to. That's why they're not included. But personally, that's like one of my favorite things about buying a movie on physical media is checking out those special features and mainly deleted scenes, alternate endings, stuff like that. That's just so fun. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Was any of this interesting to you? Any of it sound good? Love to hear from you. Quick thank you to my channel members and Patreon subscribers. If you want more ecto-violence, including exclusive videos and behind-the-scenes content, become a member by clicking the links in the description below.